Welcome everyone to Workspace Wednesdays, where we'll be looking at the updates that Google announced during the month of February. And here is the first one. You can now insert your video camera into the slide deck.
I see what you're doing there. That's very clever.
Maintain other people's attention. That's the theory. By having my face on it, it's supposed to make you become more interested in the point that I'm making. I've even used a shape with a point on it to point to the title of the slide, which is fantastic. Only available with Education Plus accounts, so not even with Teaching and Learning, just the Education Plus account. But it's quite a nice little thing. I have seen Google use it for a little while, so it's interesting that they've released it now. And it's different. This is popping it into that shape. You've still got that video feed option, which is in there, the option to record, which is also Education Plus, which I think is one of the slides as well, slightly later on. You can change the size of it. You can change the shape of it. You can pop it in different places. So I've just done another demonstration of it there, just so that you know I'm not going to appear on every single slide today. You will get a rest from my lovely face shortly. Okay. This slide is about the new pageless view. I don't know if you've noticed that Google keep popping up that little helpful thing, which isn't helpful at all, encouraging you to switch to pageless format. And it's now in the format menu, so you can actually choose to go to pageless format. If you are building things like large tables on a Google document, and you want to be able to see more information on the page, actually going to pageless format does give you more of the screen as the actual page, so you do get a larger view. You can see when you do this, it actually widens slightly in the little GIF that's on the slide. So, you know, page view as opposed to pageless view does give you more space to work on. So it's particularly useful if you're working on a small screen, for example. So it's definitely one that's worth considering when you're building larger documents that have like big tables and that kind of stuff in it. So it's a handy little bit of functionality should you need it. Okay. That's a little bit about this. This is the last one, honestly. I don't know why you can do this. You can actually, the shape you put your video into, you can rotate it. Well, why would you do this thing to me? It looks like I'm falling off the earth here, but there we go. So in Google Meets now, you can now pin up to 3 tiles. So if you are the person that's recording it and driving it, you can decide these are the 3 pins that I want to focus on in this particular bit of the recording. So that will decide what appears in the final recording and things. So that's kind of quite handy. And that whole thing about if you've got a signer for someone who's partially hard of hearing, for example, you might want to pin those 2 together so that they stay side by side, so they're seen by people and things like that. So you've got the option to do that kind of stuff as well. But once again, Education Plus only. Okay, that's the last video you're going to see. You can relax now. Okay. So you've got the option now to start to put smart chips in Google chat spaces. It's been there for a little while, and you've got the same 2 uses. You've got the @ symbol, and you can select the smart chip that you want. But if you put a URL in, it'll give you the option to convert it to by pressing the tab button to convert it into a smart chip. Was that a bleep for a request for access, or was that a question that popped up?
No request for access, Paul. There's a question in there, I think. Let's just have a look. Yeah, James just going on about wanting to spin your head around 180 degrees. Yeah, I do a Ben out.
Thank you, James.
There we go. Well, you can rotate your head, Paul, if we really need to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really useful. I'll do it for next month or some month.
You look like you've got hair then, Paul, if we do that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, what are people on this week? Everyone's so fruity and up for it. It's great. So anyway, web-based, as I said, you can add these in. Mobile, you can't create them, but you can click on them, of course. They are clickable items. So it's only on the web-based version that you can create them, but they are now in there inside Google Chat. I don't know if you remember, about a year ago, I think probably, I did a slide which listed about 40 new features appearing in Google Chat, some that were already there and some that are about to come. It's about Google kind of building this into a much more significant kind of conversational tool and project tool and community tool and all those things. There's more and more things appearing in here all the time, aren't there? So I think that will continue. And I think I also said we use it loads. So it's a good thing. So here's the record option. Again, this is Education Plus only. So you can actually create a kind of a shareable video presentation of your Google Slides. Only works in the Chrome browser. So limit to how long it is, which is 30 minutes. And it gets saved to your drive. And I don't know if you remember, I think it was last month we announced you can now, if you've got a video in your Google Drive, you can share a link to a specific location in the video. You don't have to share the whole video. You can say, here's a link to start 20 seconds in, for example. You can also do that with these videos once they're recorded. Okay, and the management of them is either both in the drive, of course, or inside Google Slides. You've got the option to re-record new ones or delete ones and so on and so forth. So you've got the control of it all in there. But Education Plus only in that one. So Google Meet Companion Mode is now supported on your mobile devices. And these are the things that you can do once you're on your mobile device. I don't know if you're aware of companion mode. We use it sometimes if we're doing kind of events where we need to be in a meet in more than once. Companion mode limits what you can actually do, but it allows people in. They can still send reactions, and they can raise a hand, and they can turn on captions. You can see it on the slide. I'm not going to read them all. So they can do those things that you'd expect, but it does limit other things that they can do. So they can't share their screen and things like that. So it just means they've got a limited amount. You've also got a companion mode. I think it's g.co/companion. There's a keyboard shortcut to it, and then you just put the code of the meet in, and you join in companion mode. But you've also got g.co/present, and that allows you to enter in present mode. And again, we've used that before. That I'll be in there as a participant in a meet, but I'll have a second device with my presentation running on it. So I'd use the g.co/present, and my presentation would run on that device whilst I was in there as a participant. So it just gives you kind of a bit more of access into the whole thing. Now you can share your slide deck direct into the meet and run it from the meet. There's not such a need as it was before, but it is still there should you want to use it. And that's available to all accounts from fundamentals right the way up to Education Plus. So this, I think, is a really nice one. And if I'm honest, I actually forgot because I didn't. I always go through and double check I've got these marked for all the right account types. And I'm not absolutely certain that this isn't for one of the paid versions. So I will check that at the end if that's okay. But managing all the comments within a document, I think, is really, really handy. But you'd be in docs, sheets, and slides, so it would be in all three. So you don't need to necessarily have them all open or all hidden, and you've just got these little mini buttons that appear on the side that you can look at, and you can collapse that into the side of the document. So I just think accessing comments. I mean, we use comments a huge amount. I'm sure that you do too. It's an enormously useful part of the Google infrastructure. So it's the fact that they've eventually got around to a redesigning is a really good. So you can actually get a bit more of a focus. And if you watch the little GIF, you'll notice when you open up the actual main window, you can actually open up a for you option within the main window. So actually you can just filter out just to those where you're referenced and things. So that also is really good. And of course, there it is. You can see it there now. All comments in the for you tab. And it's searchable. If you notice, you've got the magnifying glass at the top, so you can actually search them for yourself. But like I say, let me just double check at the end that actually is available to all, or it's not just a I can't remember whether I checked that one.
I've just checked that, Paul. It's available to all editions.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dave. That's fantastic. So there we go. So that is available to all. So good. Handy that.
Do you know, Paul, if you can now print a document and include the comments?
I don't believe so. No.
No.
Yeah. And it's a really good question, Tony. I think that's an odd omission because I'm sure I certainly have asked for it a number of times, and I'm certain other people on the call would have also made that request. So the fact that that's not still not available is a bit odd, I think.
Yeah,
You can do if you export it to HTML, you can print it and it includes the comments, so you can get away with it.
At the bottom, don't they?
Yeah.
It's a bit of a fact, though, isn't it? You know, you're telling teachers they can't just hit print; they've got to export it, then open it, then print it.
But knowing our teachers, I'm not sure you'd want all the comments to be printed by default anyway. So maybe it's a security measure, a feature.
Yeah, it's a feature.
To protect us from ourselves, you think? maybe it's, who knows. Anyway, okay, so moving on. I quite like that. I think that's a great additional feature. Okay, so a couple of things for Android tablets. This month, and this is one of them. When you're on it specifically referenced Android tablets in the update on this one, that you've got a new formatting sidebar. So I'm presuming they specifically referenced Android tablets because they're not thinking about Android mobiles and phones, as it were. But you need that larger screen. What I don't know is whether you've got a split screen, or these folding screens, which gives you a much larger screen, whether it would work on those as well. I don't actually know. I mean, I couldn't see anywhere where it said anything about that. Just referenced Android tablets in the updates. But good that you've got that. You know, that more and more, you know, people are going to the phone as the first place, aren't they? And mobile devices as the first place, rather than going to a desktop machine. So good that there's better functionality in there. So that's now hopefully rolling out. This is it took me ages to work this one out because I couldn't get the little, you see with the little GIF, it's basically, you can, if you've got an image, you can literally drag it across onto the slide deck and it will automatically set it to the background. And I was busy trying to do this. It took me ages to do it, holding on to my image, dragging it across, waiting for the blue bar to appear around the slide to tell me I was in the right place. And it just wouldn't appear. And eventually I had the sense to just let go of the picture, and it still did it. So I'm not actually sure that you do get the bar around it when you try and do that. But if you need to quickly apply a background to an image, then you can do it now, just listed by clicking and holding and dragging across onto the slide deck, and it should apply it. It's kind of the drag it across slowly on the right hand side, and it tends to do it fine. I tried it a few times once I'd understood there was no highlighting bar coming around the slide. Education Plus only though, not available to other paid versions. I know perhaps I shouldn't say this, but a bit disappointed. A lot of these functions that seem they should also be in teaching and learning because they're very clearly benefits to the teaching and learning side, and they're not appearing this time. It seems to be just on Education Plus. So I hope that's not a pattern that will continue. It's just coincidental that they happen to all be Education Plus only updates this year, but this month rather. But that's what seems to be happening at the moment. Gemini for Workspace. There's two versions of these now. There's a Gemini for Business and a Gemini Enterprise. Different pricing for both. And I've left this slide empty because I've been trying to pin down precisely how it works. One of the things that we've said in the past, that if you purchase one of these licenses, and just in case anyone's missed it, I don't think anyone would have done, but this is what used to be called Duet AI. It's now, Bard is now called Gemini. The Duet AI for Business offering that was there before has now been split into two versions at slightly different prices. And I don't know, Chris might be able to say a bit about the pricing in a moment if he wants to. But it's all now called Gemini. And I've been trying to work out, I've read so many pages about this in this last week, trying to work out whether, because one of the things it says is that it maintains the security of your Google Workspace domain, but it also talks about you using the gemini.google.com kind of public-facing page. Now, one of the things that we've always said that with the Gemini built into Google Workspace, it respects the sharing protocols of your Workspace account. So it doesn't share stuff out. It's not used to improve the model. It's not read by humans, you know, all of those things. So there's a good case for using Gemini for Business because you've got the security that brings by keeping all your data secure within your domain. What I can't quite work out is whether if you are logged into that account and you go to gemini.google.com, whether that level of security is still maintained. So I'm still trying to tease that out. And I know that Gemini kind of public facing, the gemini.google.com website behaves differently in that just because it's a separate site and things. But if you are logged in, if it does afford you some protection, I don't know. And of course, it's not checking your documents because you don't put your documents in there. You might put text from a document, but that's different. That's just text in a prompt. But if it does do that protection within gemini.google.com as well, then that's a significant thing. So I need to unpick that. So as soon as I know, and I have sent out a couple of emails trying to clarify that, as soon as I know for certain, I will let you know. But two versions. Do you have pricing now, Chris? Are you ready to talk about that? Or do you want to leave it till the end?
Yeah, can do. Yeah. There is a rumor, and it's only a rumor at the moment. It's not been confirmed. That again, Education Plus, there could be a discount offered for the Gemini Enterprise for Education Plus users. It's not been confirmed yet. So we can't really give you any details on that. I don't have them. Yeah, pricing at the moment remains the same. £30.24 per user per month, or 302.40 if you subscribe to an annual. With the flexible, it's obviously just a rolling monthly account. The general feedback I'm getting from people at the moment is it's a little bit expensive for what it does. I don't know whether there's anybody on the call today who's tried it, tested it, has any comments. But at the moment, yeah, £30.24 per user or 302.40 for the year.
Excellent.
I think Jason actually has just joined us. I don't know, Jason, I know you've just come in at this point. You were looking at Gemini, weren't you, or Duet AI? I don't know whether you actually signed up to it or whether you were just kind of interested in sort of prices and whatnot.
Yeah, sorry for being late. Yes, I was interested in trying it. I'm just trying to convince my manager to let me have a couple of licenses myself to trial. But yes, with the new updates and the improved system, it looks like it's going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, most people that we kind of get trialing it, if you like, tends to just go for the flexible monthly. Like I say, it's £30.24. You can move that license around as well, as long as you don't exceed the number that you've purchased. So it's not a dedicated Dave Leonard license, for instance, for a month. Dave could try it for a week and move it on to somebody else. I know I always pick on you, Dave. You should turn your camera off, mate, and then maybe not. But yeah, that's kind of where we are with that, man. Like I say, there's the chance of a discount for Education Plus, but nothing's been confirmed yet. There's just a few sort of rumours flying around. As soon as we have anything on that, if it becomes a fact, we'll obviously pass that information on as well.
Yeah. And in the reading of the blogs, different pricing for Gemini for Business and Gemini Enterprise, but I don't know whether Education can even have Gemini for Business. So there's still stuff to work out. I couldn't work that out either.
Yeah, I would imagine they're going to keep the two separate, aren't they?
Yeah, I would think so.
I would have thought.
Yeah.
They tend to do that, don't they?
And it's just, and the link will take you to the information, of course, as always. So each of these slides, wherever there is a link that's going to take you to key information, once you've got the slide deck, you can just click on the link and it'll take you to where you need to be to find out that information. Anyway, moving on. So a few months ago, I can't remember exactly when now, a few months ago, it was set so that admins could install apps directly from the marketplace into Google Chat. That's now available, as long as the admin person allows you to do it. That's now available for individuals, and you can see in the little screenshot there that there's still the option for an admin install, but an individual can install it for their own chat and add it to a particular space should they want to do that. So they've got the option to do that, but it does rely on the marketplace being made available by the admin person, I believe. So that's a good thing. You know, those people that you feel can be trusted to do that kind of thing will no doubt start to explore some of the apps that are in there. And there's like polling apps and all those kind of things, and apps that link ClearBooks to it or Zendesk to it and that kind of stuff. So you can assign and reassign tasks. If you use Zendesk for your support tickets and things, you can link that to Google chat spaces and things. So there's those kinds of tools in there. So there's a new smart canvas, which is it automatically identifies emails if you type them into a Google document. And once you've finished typing it, that usual window of, do you want to turn that into a nice smart chip for you? And if you do, just press the tab. So that should start to appear over the next 15 or so working days. And I think it's based on it recognizing an email format. So once it's recognized an email format, it should just pop up as a suggested convert to a chat and a smart chip rather. So that's,
yeah, just on that, Paul, I've noticed as well, because I'm forever sending spreadsheets around that people don't want to see. It's much cleaner in chat when I'm dropping a spreadsheet. And if I put a link in for a spreadsheet, it then gives me the option just to click on it as a button, and it's much cleaner and simpler than for the end user. So yeah, using that already, nice little feature.
Yeah, no, it's a great little tool. This is all part of their kind of version 3 of their kind of design interface model that they're working to change everything to, and all the design features and ease of use and integrations. And it's interesting because you kind of become acutely aware of it. And I talk a lot when I do my training about that whole thing about the time you spend moving from your keyboard to your mouse. Whereas in this, just literally this one little example, if you want to turn it into something that looks a bit nice to make it, a more attractive interface for your user, you haven't got to leave your keyboard to click on a mouse to accept it. You just press the tab and it moves it on, and then the job is done. And there's a whole load of these smart chips. If you start to use the @ symbol and you start to appear them, as soon as it's worked out which one you want, you don't need to go to your mouse to accept it. You can, but it's kind of an inefficient way to work. If you just press the tab, it accepts it and pops the thing in there, which is great. So the smart chips in Google Docs, I think, are fantastic tools. And particularly the other one that I often get a wow for is the option to put it, like Chris has just said, put in actually a smart chip for a document. In Docs, when you hover over it, you get the option to preview that document inside the existing document in a little media player or document viewer. So you haven't got to open every single tab of every single document you need to be looking at. You can open it, preview that document, and then close it and carry on back with the main document. So it's a much neater way to do it without having to open many, many tabs, which is kind of the curse of us all, isn't it, working on the web? No, I've got very few at the minute, but it's not the case normally. Okay, moving on. I think this might be really rather nice, actually. Like I say, Google have invested a great deal of time and energy adding a whole load of new functionality to Google Chat. You might still not yet have the new version of Google Chat where you've got the threaded views available, but you're now going to get the little buttons that tell you which people are involved in the unread part of a thread within a chat space. And the theory being you can then make a decision about, do you actually need to go in there and read these? Is this going to be relevant to you? It's just helping you make a decision about which bits you do and don't read, which might be quite a useful little tool to be able to do. I think we're still kind of bedding in this new threaded and non-threaded view, replying in line and a threaded view. And the threaded view basically sets up a third panel where you can look at that almost like a sub conversation within the main conversation thread of a Google Chat space, and it allows you to filter out a second kind of area. Yeah, I quite like it because actually it keeps things separate, so you can actually make a decision. If I think, well, if they're talking in that top chat, the Jeffrey comment is nothing to do with anything I'm involved in at this moment in time, I can just choose to ignore it and then move on. So yeah, I quite like the fact that it gives me that third layer of control and understanding, and that's in that separate bit, and then I can, like I say, move on to the next bit and decide whether to use that or not. So I was uncertain at first, but I quite like it now. Now I've got used to it. So anyway, so direct calls with people outside of your calling network on Google Meet mobile. I think this is kind of an attempt to make Google kind of Meet, it's kind of like built into chat and that kind of stuff, more like other tools like Instagram, where you can literally just do a video call with someone just by clicking on a button and contact that you've got. So as long as it's been allowed by your admin and it is on by default, so if you want to limit who can do this, then you've got to go in and turn it off so that they can't, if you think that that's the right thing to do. So it's on by default. And I mention it's on by default because we've got some FE colleges on the call. If you've taken a decision that in order to make sure that you get the best out of your Google Workspace, you are going to indicate that all your students are 18, even though they might not necessarily be, so they get the full range of tools available to them. Yeah, if this as a one-to-one call where they can receive calls from outside your network is on by default, they might get, prank calls and all sorts of things. So you might want to think about going in there and turning it off by the OU where your students are, even if you're kind of pushing your luck by allowing them to be 18 even when they might only be 17, for example, just to make sure they get all the tools that you think they should have. So just to be aware that that's in the admin panel, new option but it's on by default, so if you don't want it to be on, you've got to go and turn it off, and it gives people the option to do direct calls from within chat and within Meet to other people that aren't necessarily in your network. So just to be aware of that. This is another Android device update, and I think I think it was a tweet I saw the other day, and someone joked about this is like Jamboard in Google Docs. Yeah, that tool menu on the right of the GIF there looks remarkably like the Jamboard tool, doesn't it? Which isn't a bad thing at all. But you can now basically rate handwritten annotations in a Google Doc that other people can see. But different settings, and I've literally just copied and pasted these in because it's just depending on what you're on, whether you're on a desktop or an Android device or an iOS device, it changes what you can and can't do. So this handwritten devices are only in, yeah, a good one, Jamdocs, I like it. Yeah, to actually make the markups is only available in Android currently. I expect it will eventually be available in iOS, but it currently isn't. And it's actually quite nice it's that way around. It's often the case that when they introduce mobile functionality, it's usually on iOS first. So it's nice that it's not this time. So you've got the full range of tools on the Android. You can add them and hide them and erase them and so on and so forth. In iOS, you can view them and you can delete them, but you can't actually add any of your own. And on the desktop, same again. You can delete them, but you can't actually add any. You can view what the markups are in the document, but you can't actually add them from a desktop. It's only on the Android device you can think these. It's interesting because I suppose a desktop is unlikely to be touched, but if you had a Chromebook and installed the Android device, I presume that way that you could. And I haven't tested that, but I'm assuming that that's, you know, the advantages. I used to do that with Jamboard. I've still got it on this device. I've got the mobile app of the Jamboard on this Chrome device because I can do that now. Because of course the Android Jamboard app had more functionality than the desktop Jamboard app. So I did that. So I'm assuming if you install the Android device on a touchscreen Chromebook, then you would get all of that functionality in that device rather than just the desktop functionality. So that assumes Play Store is on. So those are the updates for February. Just one other quick reminder that the application window for Chicago Innovator Program closes on the 19th of this month. So it's still open. You can still apply. The most amazing PD I think I've ever had in my entire and long and very, very long and illustrious, I hope, career. It was just phenomenal. It really makes you think and work hard, and it's brilliant. And the group of people that I met in it was fantastic. So I really strongly recommend the Innovator Program to you. I think it's a brilliant thing. There is another one that starts on April the 1st. You can see it on that same table in Amsterdam. These, I should say, the ones I've posted here are all the ones that are going to be in English. There are others, so if English isn't your first language, do please follow the link on this slide and go and look at the other ones, because it might be there's one in a language that is more suited to you. These are just the English ones. But the Amsterdam window opens on the 1st of April. So if you are thinking about going more locally rather than Chicago, do please get your application started and start to think about it. If you need to chat about the Innovator Program, I know Dave has already offered to chat to people about it, so I'm sure that would still stand. And I'm also an innovator, so I'm more than happy to talk to you about your Innovator application and what it needs to look like and what you need to think about in that process. And those are the updates for the month. Next update is on the 10th of April, and we're doing a Workspace Wednesday on tour because I'm not here. Eventually got to cash in my 60th. Why are you clapping that I'm not here, David Leonard? Thank you very much. Hurtful. Celebration. Paul's not here. Hooray! No, I'm sure it's a celebration of IEG. So I was at IEG last week, and I was mentioning that I would be away. I'm actually cashing in my 60th birthday present. I'm going to Sicily for a week. I'm very excited. And Gary, Tony's colleague, suggested, well, we could do a Workspace on tour thing. So that's a brilliant idea. I checked with them yesterday. They both said yes, of course. So I will do prepare the slide decks for you, Tony, as normal. They'll do the updates, but they'll also share a little bit about some of the things that they're doing within their own organization with Google Workspace in terms of reporting back with tracking of student accomplishment using AI that Gary's doing some great things with as well, and Tony's got the most amazing kind of tracking tool, or whatever they choose to share, and also talk about their acquiring their Google reference college status, which they got very recently. So
yeah,
I'm leaving it in very capable hands. It'll be very exciting, but they will be the leaders. I don't know, will Adam be involved with you as well, or will it be just you and Gary?
Well, he can be if he wants to be. So we'll see if he's available. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, there's
so
the three of us.
Confirmed.
There's the three.
That's
We're
very
the three
exciting.
technologists at the group, so we'll see
Yeah.
if he's available as well. But we'll be running it from the new Google Hub at Peterborough.
Excellent, very exciting. And I'm very excited because I think what a great idea. So I'll be looking for volunteers to do May. Well, I mean, why do I need to do it? You know, the expertise in this call is just astounding. It's not, you know, it's just, it could be anyone. I'll do the slide deck for you all, but I'm more than happy to allow others to host it. It'd be really exciting for you all to do it for each other rather than me do it every time. I must get sick of my voice. So
well, yes, we
Definitely
do, Paul.
yeah.
But I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, we started with Phil, didn't we?
I deserve that.
A couple of months back, and I think getting other people involved to share what they've done, share their experiences, and how it's making their lives better and easier. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, Tony. That'll be great. Fabulous.
Any thoughts or comments about any of the updates that we've discussed this morning or I've talked about this morning?
Well, there's the notable absence that we talked about yesterday about the signatures in docs, isn't there? Well,
yeah, I mean, we've got it because we signed up for the beta.
Yeah, you can't sign up for the beta anymore, otherwise I would. But...
Yeah, no, I know. No.
Still no date on that, Paul. We hadn't got a, like Dave said, they tend to just give you a Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, don't they, with Google? They don't tend to tie themselves down to a date particularly. Have you seen anything in any of your travels regarding it at all, Paul? Or?
I haven't. I'm just very quickly checking the Google release calendar. It only tends to do a couple of weeks ahead. Just in case, are people aware of this? There's actually a calendar that Google make public. Here it is, the link in the chat. But like I say, it only tends to do the next 2 or 3 weeks at most. So it's got, where are we? The new smart canvas in Google Docs, extended trusted types to Gmail, new ways to annotate Google Docs are the only things that are on there at the minute. There's nothing else on there. I'll just double check. There's nothing in April. Yeah, there's nothing at all in April. They don't tend to announce very far in advance. It's only announcing up to next week, even only up to next Monday. You do sometimes get a couple of weeks ahead, but you've not got very many at all at the minute. So there's clearly nothing in there. But yeah, that's I always check that before each month when I do these updates.
But I've just clicked on it. Very interesting. Monday, what's that? 3rd of March. Available in beta, the group's admin role can now be provisioned. So is that groups in Google Classroom? Do you know? No, that's groups, isn't it? It's not Classroom, isn't it? Yeah, I've been silly.
On the 3rd of March, I don't even see that on mine.
Are
you on March?
No,
February.
26th. It just said the group's admin role. I think I got overexcited there.
Yeah, there's quite a lot on that day, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But useful one to have. A link to have just in case you need to see it. Just to know what's coming up. So there's a few on the Friday the 1st. There's 4 more, isn't there? Okay. So yeah, no, I think that one, isn't a long time coming. And the one we've got, what it does with the signatures, once you've added the signatures in, you can add a field for a signature. You can add a field for their printed name or for their initials and for date, and there might be a couple of others I can't remember now. But it creates a PDF, so they don't actually get put straight into the Google Doc. It creates a PDF copy of it, and that's where they request the signatures. So it does separate from the original document. It's worth remembering that, but which is a bit of a disappointment. I would like to have it stayed in the Google Doc, but there we go. Can't be helped. So yeah, so that we're here soon. I'm sure he said, meaning for Google soon means the next 1 to 4 quarters. But yeah, any other thoughts about any of the other updates you've seen today? Anything you think, oh, that's good, I'm glad that's arrived? You can speak, or
I
you can
really
just
like this.
go
The
on.
speaker spotlight tool, I think, is going to be a nice addition. I think it's just a shame it wasn't there during lockdown, and we could have done away with a Loom extension, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think it's nice, the flexibility of that. I can see us using that for training materials, if nothing else.
Yeah. And when you go to present, it asks if you want to include your camera in it.
Yeah.
So which is really rather nice. So if you're doing it live and the people in the room, clearly you don't need the camera that time. You can choose not to use it, which is quite nice. I mean, you will get some odd shapes on your slides that don't actually fill with anything, but it's a small price to pay. Actually, I didn't try it without choosing the video, so it might be that it doesn't even show the shapes. You never know. I've not tried it. Any other thoughts? Any other questions generally? Anyone got any Google Workspace questions that they need an answer to?
Just to answer that question, Paul, it doesn't show the shape if you don't allow the camera. I've just tested that.
All right. Excellent. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, so that's neat, isn't it? It's a neat little bit of functionality.
Yeah.
I think the only comment I've got really is still about the Gemini. The charges around that, if you get that as a product you want to add into, are still fairly restrictive for most people in terms of that. If Google really want people to take that on board and adopt, they're not really giving much incentive to education institutions to get on board with it. It's still prohibitive, certainly for us, although we have used that and enabled that when it was a beta thing. But yeah, it's all useful, exploring how to use AI, but I think that cost is just a bit prohibitive at the moment.
My hope is that it will change. I can't imagine. I think there'll be a sudden realization that there's scope for us here, but actually not at that price. I think you're quite right. But I think also some people might just say, well, actually, because they're movable feasts, I can move it from person to person. As long as we've got people who are aware of it and are keen to use it, then we could probably get fewer than, we don't have to go one-to-one, and that then becomes a much more affordable option, doesn't it? Rather than you having to buy a license for every single person, you just buy a handful and move them around. And I know it means that someone like you, Andy, then have got that job of having to move things around, but actually, then I don't expect you'll be doing it, every day. So maybe that might be the way.
Pete Horner would no doubt have some app script to be able to do that as well, because he's created app script to move other licenses, isn't he? So I'm sure that would be achievable to reduce the admin overhead on that. I think part of the problem with the cost is that the compute cost for all this AI is so high. It's not just a Google thing. If you look across other providers, none of them are able to bring that AI cost down significantly at the moment. Yeah. And in fact, there's a whole sustainability thing around AI, isn't there? And the amount of compute that's having to be built and the amount of resources that are going into it, the amount of power that it's using, it's kind of at odds with the sustainability agenda. So I'm be interested to see how that plays out. But I don't think it's a Google greed thing in this instance. I think it's just the fact that it just costs so much to run. Yeah, no, I think you're right. But we'll just watch this space. So I'm just going to, this is, and I think because this is all still very new, I've just been having a little route at some of the pricing. So I remember seeing somewhere, I was trying to read around to get my head around all of this, that there are two prices, one for enterprise and one for Gemini for business. And that one shows you the different prices. It's only in dollars currently. On which page I was on now.
Isn't there always also a Gemini Advanced or something like that?
And yeah, and there was, and I haven't found a price for that one yet, and I don't know what extra you get. But it shows you also, that page I've just sent you to also shows you the difference.
I know that that might only be for personal use. I'm not sure, but I know that Gaz is using Gemini Advanced, and he put the same query into Advanced and the ordinary Gemini. And got two very different results. One was the Advanced was far more comprehensive. So, but he is paying for that one. He's not here now, so I don't know how much he's paying for that.
Yeah,
but it's
if
interesting.
a Google One subscriber, you buy the extra storage, and I think you get a 2 months free deal. So you might still be on the deal. I don't know, but yeah. So if anyone does subscribe to, is that what? Have I remember that right? That's the thing where you buy additional storage. You get 2 terabytes of storage, don't you? Google One. Have I remember that right?
I'll get Gaz to put it in. He'll be back later on. He's at Stanford. I'll get him to put it in the chat. So tell you how much it's costing him. Yeah.
And what's interesting about this is that you can see this is clearly built into the apps of Google Docs. And the significant for Gemini Enterprise is the advanced meetings in translated captions, and it says full access and usage of Gemini, because I think the Gemini Business, which is the $20 one on that page, I think there's a limit to. I think it's not, doesn't say here, but somewhere I think it said it's about 1,000 requests. I've read so many documents and watched so many videos trying to get my head around what all of these different options are and precisely what you get. And like I say, when I said that got to the slide, my concern is, does Gemini.google.com maintain the security of your domain if you're using that to do a search rather than using the AI tools within the apps? That's what I can't find anywhere that it says that, and I suspect it might not. And if it does, it'd be brilliant, because that will be fantastic. So you've got a full-blown proper AI prompt that you can use fully to get really high-quality responses, as well as all the additional tools you get inside your workspace tools. That then I think becomes, a much stronger argument. Still a lot of money, I understand that, but it's a much stronger argument. But it needs to keep your data secure within the Gemini.google.com site as well.
I would guess it doesn't.
Yeah, that's the cynic in me wants to agree with you, but I just hope. I want to keep hoping, just in case it does, because it should be able to do that if you've logged in. If it knows what account you are, it should.
Yeah, he knows your domain, so just keep it in that domain. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's hope. I'm going to stick with my hope, Tony. I'm going to be positive just for the moment, in case it does, because I think that if it does, that, like I say, I think becomes a much more compelling argument. And then all they then need to do for me is make sure that it does data analysis, because at the minute in the spreadsheet it gives you an itinerary if you want an itinerary for a ski trip or whatever, and that's perfectly great piece of functionality. But I'm not sure how often I would have used that in schools. I would have used it for planning my concerts, rehearsal schedules, those kinds of things. That'd be great for that. They're really helpful. It's a fantastic tool, but I might do one concert a term, so I'm using it 3 times a year. So it wouldn't warrant the cost. Whereas if it starts to do data analysis for me, and you think about that fantastic tracking tool you showed me, Tony, with all those charts and graphs and things.
Yeah.
If you can use AI to automate a lot of that.
Oh yeah, if you could say, here's the data, just tell me blah blah blah, that would be amazing. That would. Yeah.
And the AI prompt inside Google Sheets says it's coming. It's just it's not here yet. So the plan is that they will do that. Of course they would. Why would they not? But it's not here yet, and that's. I think that will start to change the situation. I think Chris might find he'll get a few more sales. If some senior leadership says, "Wait a minute, I can then just ask it a question and it'll do the analysis for me." That's really powerful.
Yeah, so it's just even simple things. So we're just about to embark on the staff survey set of questions. I have to tabulate all the results into some lovely charts that the principal wants, which is fine, and I don't mind doing it, but it is really a repetitive task. You would think it would be ideally suited to something like AI. Just here's the data, just give me results for each question, or compare this one with the last year's one, that kind of thing. So
that's true. Any other pieces of functionality that people want to comment about that they're pleased they've arrived?
Now, what the other big thing that we're waiting for, which I sort of got overexcited about a little while ago, was groups for Google Classroom. That would be good.
Yeah,
because
ready for them.
Yeah, I've got some teachers who've created a single classroom for like 5 groups, and there's like 30 students in each group, and it's just ridiculous. They just can't find well, it's just madness, isn't it? And despite the fact that I keep telling them, create a different classroom for each group. Oh no, that's too much like hard work. I've got to repeat everything. Well, no, you don't really, do you? Because you know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Op soapbox.
But even with a single class, to be able to differentiate the activities, rather than have to untick everyone and remember who's in which group and tick each individual student, to be able to group them, and then as the groups change, because actually in reality they often don't change significantly in a year, do they? I think in my last school, my maths department was really keen to get students in the right group, and so they would make a change every term. They'd review, and actually when they said they were going to do it, because their groups affected my teaching groups, because of course with the way the timetable worked, so it was a bit of a nuisance in the school. But actually in reality it was like 3 or 4 kids in max. So but to have that control to be able to do that, they no longer need that differentiated source. They need that differentiated set of tasks. That to me is really powerful, because teachers need to be able to do all the time.
Yeah, what it is if you've got like 4 groups, you might find that one group is a week ahead of the other. So you could then set the assignment a week earlier.
Yeah.
But if you do all that in one classroom, you've got to remember who's in which group. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, yeah, so groups will be really good.
Yeah, so that's
we now know that's not in the calendar, so it's not going to be this month.
No.
Not yet, anyway.
And then obviously the analytics stuff. I think I said at the BET thing when we were there, I said the analytics is great, but it's useless, because all I can do, if I look at our domain, it says I've got 10,000 students with over 2,000 classrooms. Okay, but I can't look at an individual classroom or an individual person, an individual student. I can't do it, and I can't download it into a CSV file to do it myself. So
I think if you download to a CSV, you're right. I don't think you can, but you can drill down and look at individual students now.
Yeah, but you'd have to, if you can't look at like a group of students. So if I want to say, what's hairdressing doing, I can't do that.
And not the whole department, but you can look at a single classroom. You get analysis by class. You can drill into a classroom. You can drill into an individual student now.
I need to have a look at that, because I didn't think you could do that. I'm going to have a look now.
So if you find you can't, it could be because we get. Are you registered on the demo GFE, or is that just for partners?
Yeah.
So look at that example in there, because it shows you what you
No,
can drill down.
I can't. Well, you can, but you can't. So, for example, if I wanted to drill down to an individual student, there's no search functionality, so I can't search for that student to find it.
No, you can't search for them. You can browse to.
Yeah, but when you've got 10,000 students, that's not going to happen, is it? You see what I mean? And now I've got 2,250 classrooms. I can't browse through those to find a classroom.
No, of course not. No. Quite right.
But it's a good thing. It's a good step in the right direction. I like it, but it's just not there yet.
Theo, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's the analytics stuff as well. So my voice is just gone. It is the reports that you get from Google. I mean, I did post something in the forum. I don't know whether it's this one or some other ones about the Statistics 24, which is going to be retired. That was okay. It did a bit of a job for us, but I think someone else posted that we can that maybe the new improvements within Google could help us. So what we try to do is more of students and learners engagement with Google Drive. So how much time they're spending on documents and things like that. If someone opens a document, and also can you see what areas within the document they've gone to, that kind of thing. But it was more of part of our verification with certain universities we work with. We need to kind of like prove or demonstrate how learners and students engage with our Google Drive, for things like classroom documents, anything that has been uploaded. How do we know they're actually reading it? How do we know they're actually engaging? And Statistics 24 was able to help a bit, but but that's also going away. So I was wondering whether I haven't looked at the new improved reporting within Google Classroom, but
Yeah.
I'll
won't
need to
give you
see
what
the
you want.
teachers. No,
No, I don't think so. We had Statistics 24 for a while, for a year, and then we turned it off. It was just too intrusive. But there's another one called Schoolitics. Does that do what you need? That might be something to look at.
no, I haven't heard
It's
of that.
the reason Statistics 24 is going is because Google have changed the rules about what these companies can access. So my suspicion is that any of those tools that do that, they're all going to go, because they announced it last year. It was such a storm because so many partners were making a business out of software that monitored usage within Google Workspace that they delayed it, but they've come back now and said, no, we are going to do it. So there's I don't think any of them will be able to offer what they've offered in the past, because Google is basically turning it all off, just turning off their access to the APIs they need access to, I think. So I don't know what the solution to that be, unless Google thinks that their own analytics is going to be enough.
Is that a privacy thing, Paul?
I don't know. I was only told that yesterday, so I don't actually know the details of what it is that we're going to get, if I'm honest.
Right.
Yeah,
Theo raised the question about Statistics 24 and switching to something else. I mean, the level that you're looking at, Theo, is quite advanced, probably. About the, I get why you're asking those questions. They're really good questions. We certainly don't go to that level with our classroom. But I think what you were saying about the engagement and which areas of the documents we're looking at is really valid. The analytics within Classroom are fairly functional ones, not really about engagement, more about completions, as you're showing.
Yeah. So this is the analytics you get in Google Classroom. So
it's silly, really, because clearly that the stats are available.
Yeah,
they are there clearly, and you can do some reports in the admin console, can't you? So.
I mean, my son's college, they use this maths website, and it's capable of telling me how many hours he spent on it, and I can say that and how many times he's visited it. And I find it really strange that Google can have something.
Google must have that data. It does exist. They know when people sign in. They know when people in the classroom. They know when people open a document and close a document. So it's just a matter of surfacing it somehow.
Yeah.
But we did run Schoolitics for a little while, and that looked to me to be pretty good. But at the time, I couldn't convince anyone to pay for it. I put the link in the chat, so you might want to have a little look at that. That might be what you need. I don't know. It's just worthwhile looking anyway.
Yeah, I will post again. But I think, as Paul said, they're probably going to be turned off as well.
Possible.
Yeah.
I guess it's one area just we need to raise those questions directly to Google and badger to get that feature included. A lot of third-party apps have that type of engagement feature with them, and how many hours students have had and all those things.
Exactly right.
If they want to compete at that level, then they're going to have to up their game a bit, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I was asked, during lockdown, how often are engineering students going into their Google Classroom? Well, I'm sorry, I can't tell you. What do you mean you can't tell me? What are we paying this money for?
Yeah. I mean, again, if I'm trying to be hopeful, maybe that Google are turning these things off for their partners because they've got those solutions in-house, and we might at some point get something that replaces them, that is part of the deal. And if it does, my guess would be that will be included in the enterprise, into the Education Plus costs at the very least. You would hope.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah, but I'm hopefully you can see that as you were all talking. I'm just kind of scrolling around. You can see what you do get. You can search by class. You can search by individuals. I mean, this is I think there was 154 classes. I think 154 classes. It's a much smaller, a fraction of a percentage compared to your size, Tony. And this is just about manageable. And what it does do is then I'll alert the senior leader to an issue. They would then go and request access to that classroom to go and look at the detail. So
Well,
it is a more complicated process, but you couldn't do it at your scale because there's too many to search for.
yeah, there's too many. But also on top of that, the information it provides, whilst it's interesting, isn't useful because we have a lot of classrooms that are just that don't have any assignments. So you might have a course that doesn't have an assignment, for example. It might be, you know what I mean? But you still have a classroom for all of their materials and their resources. So you can't say those figures that come up and say, 50% completed or whatever is meaningless. It doesn't help at all. You need to be able to specifically
resources. What that shows you is the assignments and how many completed and how many are missing. It doesn't show you resources. So if they're just posting resources, then it just shows an empty thing.
Christian.
That might be an indicator.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Still 2,500 classes that you've got to.
Well, that's what I've got. Yeah.
Browsing is not the way, and there's not a search tool at the moment. You're quite right. So
yeah, I mean, it says here 61% completion, but I don't know. Average mark 80%. It sounds quite good, but what does it mean?
I mean, and what does an average actually tell you across 2,500 classes?
Yeah.
So some kids could be getting 2% in every single assignment out of 100, and some kids could be getting 98. So that scale, on average, is not that useful.
Yeah, and part of this, Paul, is why we're hopefully I need to have a chat with James at some point about the admin training, is because I wonder whether, because all of our students are just in a single OU. So I wonder whether we could break that up and put them in an engineering OU, a hairdressing OU, or whatever, and whether that would help going forward. But obviously that's a big job. But at the moment they're all just lumped into one.
Yeah, it would give you greater control, wouldn't it? Because also it means that if ever you buy some web-based 3D CAD tool, you don't need to give it to your English students, do you? It's not going to go to them, so you can assign it by OU.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of classrooms that are just staff classrooms. So I've got a number of classrooms, but I want to exclude them from these stats, don't I? If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And I can't do that either. So
no.
I'm like you. I think it's a great step forward. It's very interesting, quite useful in some regards, but it needs to keep going. It needs to be developed a lot further.
Yeah.